So once again, thanks everyone for joining this session about GDPR. A few housekeeping announcements. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Please use the questions feature in GoToWebinar to ask these questions. I'll try to answer as much of them as possible at the end of the session. If we're running out of time, or there are no further questions, then of course we'll close out the session, but I'll keep the session open as soon as the presentation ended for at least 5 minutes for additional questions to be answered. Besides that, I'm ready to start whenever you are. Welcome once again. My name is Gijsbert Jansen van Doren. I'm a technical evangelist at Zerto, and today we're going to discuss GDPR. GDPR is coming. And the question is, are you ready? Now, of course, we're not going to discuss every single piece of GDPR or of the GDPR. We're going to focus on where specifically Zerto can help you, where Zerto can help you comply to the GDPR. Now, what we're going to discuss in this session is, first of all, a quick summary of what is the GDPR. We're going to discuss the impact of GDPR on the IT organization, specifically on a more technical level, or more on a what does the IT organization have to have in place to be able to prove that they are actually complying. We're going to talk about what GDPR actually says about breaches, or what they consider personal data breaches, and what they mention about data protection. And of course, we're going to discuss how Zerto, as an IT resilience platform, can help you with complying to those data protection needs or requirements as they are stated in the GDPR. Now, let's first start with what is the General Data Protection Regulation. Now, this regulation has been put in place to strengthen and harmonize the data protection and data privacy of EU citizens. Now, it doesn't only address personal data that's being kept inside of the EU, but it also addresses the export of any personal data to countries outside of the EU. And it will come into force on May 25th, 2018. So that's this year. That's only a couple of months away. And it really talks a lot about data privacy, but also data protection. And this is what we're really going to focus on during this session. Now, why should you care? First of all, this applies to businesses outside of the EU as well. As soon as you're handling personal data of EU citizens, you will need to comply to the GDPR. Now, because of that, it's really likely that other countries that are outside of the European Union will also adopt some form of regulation, or maybe even the same type of regulation eventually, because it already has impact on organizations in different countries as well. Now, another reason why you should care is because failure to comply could lead up to fines to up to 4% of the annual global turnover, or 20 million euros. Now, of course, whichever amount is higher. And all these rules combined makes something that a lot of people talk about right now, a lot of people are worried about. And if you look at multiple researches being done, a lot of organizations aren't even really ready for the GDPR when it comes into play. Now, what is a personal data breach according to the GDPR? Personal data breach means, and I'm going to read this out loud, it means a breach of security leading to the accidental or unlawful destruction, loss, alteration, unauthorized disclosure of, or access to personal data transmitted, stored, or otherwise processed. Now, what does this mean? This means that data that's impacted by ransomware, accidental deletion of data by users, storage failures or storage corruption, or complete site disasters or actual disasters of an IT organization. These are all things that could result in you having to report a personal data breach. So as you can see, data protection is key in the GDPR. Now, this is where Zerto can absolutely help you. So Zerto is an IT resilience platform that delivers continuous availability, workload mobility, and cloud agility. Now, this means that you can protect, transform, and innovate your IT environment. Now, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper on what the GDPR actually says about data protection. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to read and memorize this entire slide, because I will zoom into the separate components after this. But one of the most important parts in this, and this is Article 32, which talks about the security of processing, which talks a lot about the data protection. And this is a term or a sentence that's being written down in the GDPR multiple times, that you shall implement appropriate technical and organizational measures. Now, the GDPR doesn't mention any technology or specific technology on how you should solve it. It will just mention that it needs to be the appropriate technical and organizational measures. Now, let's zoom into the A, B, C, and D that you see mentioned below. Now, first of all, they talk about the pseudonym, and this is a terrible word for me to say, but encryption of personal data as well. As Zerto is an technology agnostic product, we allow you to protect and move data around regardless of technology. So that means they can use any type of encryption software that's either whether it's guest-based, storage-based. We also support server-side encryption on, for example, AWS S3. So you can use whatever encryption technology you think or you find that suits your needs best, because we hire technology that operates independent of technology. So what we basically did is, because we wanted to operate independently, we moved our, and apologies for that, we moved our replication layer outside of any type of hardware and moved it into the software stack, into the hypervisor layer, or into the actual cloud layer where the VMs are running, or where the instances are running. Now, this allows you to use any type of encryption that you'd like. The B part talks about the ability to ensure ongoing confidentiality, integrity, and availability, resilience of the processing system and services. Now, what Zerto offers is a way to protect your applications and a way to make your applications resilient. By that, we mean that we offer continuous availability of your applications by replicating all the data, all the changes that those applications generate without impacting the actual production workload. And we allow you to replicate it to a second site. And this could be the same technology you use in the primary site, this could be different technology, or this could be a public cloud, AWS, Azure, IBM Cloud. Those are just one of the three that we support, or three of the multiple that we support. But the way we protect those applications really allows you to maintain that availability, but also maintain that consistency of the applications. We're talking about the processing applications, the application that process all that personal data and store that personal data. So by protecting applications as actual applications and not looking at them as, oh, it's just a bunch of VMs, no, they're applications, we allow you to create what we call virtual protection groups, or application protection groups, if you will. And that allows you to protect applications, multi-VM applications, and recover them consistently. That means it doesn't matter where the VMs are running, whether they're running on separate storage arrays, separate hypervisor hosts, all across your environment, we will protect them as one whole. And once you fail over all those applications, or fail over a single application to the DR site, making sure that the availability is there, we allow you to recover them consistently, meaning that all those VMs in those groups will be recovered to exactly the same point in time. So that means if you have an application that uses multiple systems, like a database server, an indexing server, web server, application server, they will all be recovered to exactly the same point in time with only minimal data loss, because we offer you that continuous data protection, achieving RPOs of seconds. So this really allows you to protect those applications and guarantee the availability and the resiliency of those, because you can also fail over them in an orchestrated way so that we can achieve RTOs of minutes. Now, the C talks about the ability to restore the availability and access to personal data in a timely manner, whether it's a physical or technical incident. Now, this really talks about RTO. So how fast can you recover the data? Now, Zerto uses a UI, a dashboard, if you will, but what you can see at the screenshot right now. And this dashboard, the user experience, is the same regardless of technology. So let's say you're using a multi-cloud deployment where you're using AWS and Azure and maybe some other cloud service provider. We offer the exact same user experience, the same workflows regardless of technology. So that means you can quite easily adopt new technology as well, but also utilize new technology to perform DR. You might not want to maintain a second DR site, but you might want to use the likes of Azure to use that as a DR site. We allow you to actually do that and fail over within minutes to Azure, maintaining the availability of your applications. I'll walk you quickly through the steps you actually need to take if you want to do a failover, just to show you how easy it is. Now, everything was green when we started up. That means everything was running fine, but something happened. In this case, it's a complete site failure. Now, there's only 4 steps you have to take to be able to put your workload on a DR site, or continue to run your workload on the DR site. First thing you have to do is actually press that failover button. That's where it starts. It's a manual process. It's a business decision. Once we have clicked the failover button, we will select the application that we want to fail over, or the applications that we want to fail over, or maybe even an entire site. Once we've done that, we will verify the settings, and we also allow you to rewind the systems back in time. So let's say the technical incident is ransomware. Then you might not want to go back to the latest point in time, because that might already be encrypted. So we want you to go back in time and restore that application as it was an hour ago, because then it wasn't encrypted yet. So we allow you to select that at this point in time. Now, as soon as that has been done, the actual start failover option comes into play, and this is where we click start failover, and then all the resources will be brought up in an orchestrated way using predefined boot orders, predefined network settings, and maybe even re-IP along the way. But it's all automated as well, so you don't need to worry about that. It's just click and start failover. Of course, you can test this as well, which later on in the slides will show you that it's really important that you are able to test it and able to show that you have tested it as well. Now, I already talked a little bit about the fact that we can rewind systems back in time. Now, Zerto maintains the history of all the changes that happen to VMs. That means if a VM writes data, that we see that as a change, we store that on the DR site. But we also give you the possibility to go back in time with seconds granularity. So instead of going back hours to the latest snapshot, or maybe up to 24 hours to the latest backup, we actually allow you to go back seconds in time, giving you the best RPOs in the industry. So let's say something happens right after midnight. We allow you to actually rewind that to seconds before it happened, not to hours before it happened, but seconds. So to minimize that data loss. And the granularity this works in is we can recover an entire site to a specific point in time, a single VM, or maybe a multi-VM application stack. But we also allow you to do file and folder recovery, so directly recover files and folders to a specific point in time, basically any point in time over the last 30 days, giving you extreme flexibility, but also the great recoverability options. Let's say you have a file server and only a single folder has been encrypted, we allow you to only recover that folder as it was seconds before ransomware hit. Now, D talks about the testing. You have to regularly test, assess, and evaluate the effectiveness of both the technical measures you took, but also the organizational measures you took. Now, like I told you before, Zerto offers you test failover. And basically what happens during a test failover is that we'll boot the workload that you have been protecting using Zerto. We will boot that in an isolated network, allowing you to test not only what the RPO will be in case of a failover or in case of a recovery, but we also allow you to do that in an isolated bubble network. Now, this means that there will be no impact to the production side. So the production VMs will keep up and running, but one of the most important parts, they will also stay protected. So there is no impact to production performance, but also no impact to production protection. And I think that's really important. You don't want to lose protection of your production environment while you are testing if you can actually recover your production environment on the DR side. Now, as what they will ask for during a lot of the steps in the GDPR is that you can prove that you were actually able to do it, or prove that you were actually have been testing it, because it is a requirement for you to comply with the GDPR. Now, every time you perform an operation that involves virtual machines or workload in Zerto, we generate a report. This is all being done automatically. So it means if I perform a failover, or if I do a test failover, or if I move applications from A to B, we will automatically generate a report. That report will mention who did it, when did they do it, what did they exactly do, to what point in time did they recover the VMs or the workloads. So that will give you not only the RTO, but also the RPO during the failover test, whether it was a success, yes or no, but also all the detailed steps that the Zerto platform took in the background to actually make it happen. So this is really powerful. This is something you can use to actually prove that you are compliant, Besides that, we also offer you great visibility into the protection, into the availability of your environment by using Zerto Analytics. Zerto Analytics is a tool that doesn't only allow you to see your current protection state, but it also gives you detail around, did I meet my SLA over the last month? So it will give you more insight than just what is the status now. It will also allow you to report against historic data and use that as yet another proof point of the fact that you are complying, that you are still doing your very best to keep everything up and running 24/7. It will also report RPO breaches. So Zerto is completely SLA driven, meaning that if I protect applications, I will also assign an SLA to that application that meets the promises that I made to my organization, or meets whatever I have communicated with my end users. And it will also report if you did not make that, but also show you the impact of that. What was the RPO when it did not make it? And this is really powerful as well, because this allows you once again to prove that you are compliant, but also give you insight into your current state. But wait, there is more. It's not only data protection that we can help you with. There are other things as well. Application and mobility. In the GDPR, data locality or residency of the data is also regulated. That means that the services you use, whether it's cloud services or your own data center, they are located in a country. Now, the GDPR also maintains a list, or the Commission, the European Commission maintaining the GDPR, also maintains a list of countries that they consider a safeguard, or that they consider has taken the adequate steps to be a safe country to store data in. Now, these rules, they can change. This list is maintained continuously, so countries can appear and disappear. So let's say you are using a cloud service that's located in a country that is on the list right now and it's removed from the list. We allow you to really easily move that workload to any place that you like. Because we offer that technology, because we offer multiple platforms, whether it's AWS, Azure, one of the 350 plus cloud service providers, we allow you to not only test that migration and offer you the mobility to go through that, but we also offer you the seamless migration. Because we have that data continuously replicating to that target site, that means you can act really fast on any type of changes that happen, whether it's in regulation, whether it's in the SLA that the cloud service provider is offering you, because that can change as well, and allow you to really act fast to those changes and make sure you are compliant afterwards. This is all the analytics part of Zerto really helps you with that as well, because it gives you an overview of where your data is located, and we can see what kind of impact, for example, latency has on that as well. So you can make decisions based on analytics as well. So to summarize, we talked a lot about data protection. When we look at the GDPR, they talk about privacy. They talk about a lot of other things as well. So there's never a single solution that will suit all your needs for the compliance. Organization, of course, can use Zerto to really assist in ensuring part of that compliance. And it's not only the GDPR, there are many other rules that we can help as well by offering you continuous availability. So your data is protected, RPOs of seconds. We have orchestration automation to allow you to really easily move workloads from A to B. But with supporting multiple public clouds, supporting 350 plus cloud service providers, we also give you that agility to really use the cloud efficiently. And still, you are assured that your data is continuously available because of the protection that we offer as well. Now, this is where I'd like to close it off. We only discussed a small part of the GDPR, like I said, focused on data protection. But I really think that Zerto can help you achieve the compliance when it gets to the actual data protection rules, the proving that you're actually compliant by using all of our built-in reporting and analytics, but also offering you that single user experience across any type of platform to make sure that you don't have to worry about that protection anymore, because Zerto is that layer that will actually protect you. So I'll switch to the questions right now. I did see a few questions coming in, so I want to make sure that I answer some of your questions. One of the questions is, and that's actually a great question, is how do the product handles so how do we handle failback? Now, with our automation orchestration, we are also offering an orchestrated failback, meaning that as soon as you've done a failover, we allow you to configure reverse protection, as we call it, which basically flips the direction of replication and starts replicating all the changes back to the original source site, allowing you to then schedule a failback back to the DR site. So I hope that that answers your question. So I'm going to keep this open for a short while, see if we see any more questions popping in right now, and to make sure that I can answer them as well. If there's no more questions, I'd like to thank you all for your attention. I tried to keep these sessions not too long, so we've scheduled an hour, but I'm going to give you back at least 30 minutes of your day. So any more questions, please let me know in the panel. I'm going to keep this open for at least 5 minutes. Thanks, everyone. So I get another question regarding our support for Hyper-V. Yes, we support Hyper-V. We've been supporting Hyper-V ever since 2012 R2, meaning that 2016 is supported as well, and you can also replicate from Hyper-V to, let's say, Azure, or from Hyper-V to VMware environments as well, because we offer that technology agnosticness. Bare metal is currently not supported, unfortunately. Only virtualized environments. So the more physical environments will need a separate kind of technology to actually protect them. But using our automation orchestration engine, you can actually orchestrate that together with Zerto as well. So I've got a question to pull up the slides for the C part of this. Yes, I can. This is the slide. So the question I see right now is, when we fail over to the DR side, the DNS IP address has to use some VIP address, or do we handle the switching of primary IP address to the DR address? So so we allow you to re-IP. So we allow you to change the IP address of the virtual machines that we actually fail over. So we don't directly add a DNS or anything. So for example, if you use Windows, you can automatically re-register to the DNS server. But we do give you the possibility to run pre and post recovery scripts. And what we see customers do is that they actually change the DNS records using a post recovery script, or maybe use some different kind of technology. There are multiple options. So because we're agnostic to networks as well, we also allow you to use a layer 2 stretch network if re-IPing is an issue. So there are multiple ways we can help you change those IP addresses as well. Other question is if we support clusters. Depends a little bit. So if you look on My Zerto, which is our community website, you will also find some of our technical documentation, and this will also explain you the do's and don'ts and the can do and the cannot do's regarding clustering. So hopefully you can find an answer on that site. So for example, Microsoft clustering services, we have limited support for that. We have support for Red Hat clustering as well, but it all depends on the configuration. So if you have any more questions regarding that, please contact either a local partner or your local Zerto team. Another question is replication between East and West Coast of US, if that works. We have many customers doing that and achieving RPOs of seconds. We even have people replicating from Sweden to Singapore because we offer continuous data protection. We have built-in network optimization by using compression. Where we have an asynchronous technology, which basically means that we're not depending on any type of latency. So there's not a lot of issues to expect from a replication perspective, replicating from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I'm going to keep this session open for another 3 minutes, and then I will close the session. Any questions, or you want to do a test run with Zerto, visit our website, www.zerto.com. Whether you're asking questions on the forums, whether you're downloading the software to trial it, please feel free to do so. We have a trial version available, so that allows you to actually take it for a test run, for a test spin. Any questions? My name is Gijsbert, Gijsbert @zerto.com. Feel free to send me an email as well. Hopefully I can help you out.